Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, and I'm back with another episode of Freemasonry Stories. And I'm joined today by Rick Hollingsworth, who is a brother from the Bayans Lodge 1286 in Market Raisin. Thanks for joining me today, Rick.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you anyway, Chris.
Likewise. What I'd like to do is spend 10, 15 minutes talking about why you joined Freemasonry, what you get out of it, where you are now, where the future is, and from there. So if that's okay, let's kick off. So when did becoming a Freemason come on your radar?
I reckon, well, my father's a Freemason, and I suppose when he joined Freemasonry, which wasn't actually until sort of quite a bit later in his life as he was sort of moving towards retirement, and my sister and I had both sort of left home. I actually wasn't even aware that Freemasonry existed prior to that. And so at the moment, I guess he joined, I'd become aware of it, but it probably wasn't really until I was reasonably settled career-wise. I'd finished university, started working, that it even became something that I even contemplated, I guess. But it was becoming an increasingly important part of my father's life, and also his social life with my mother as well. And
Which you
I suppose
Freemason then?
So no, it was more the fact that obviously his activities and his friends, obviously he brings them along to lots of events and things like that. And it was really at that point that I suppose it became something I thought, oh, it does look that Dad clearly gets a lot out of it. And he was sort of starting to mention it a bit more and trying to encourage me. And then probably about sort of 4 years ago, I sort of intimated to him that I wouldn't mind learning a little bit more. And then sort of about within sort of 6-7 months, we sort of took the plunge, and yeah, the rest is history, I guess.
Let's be honest, Freemasons, a lot of people make certain assumptions, both positive and negative. What did your family think, your wife particularly, about you joining this organisation?
I don't think, I suppose, I think for me personally, with my father having been a Freemason, that for me personally, it had any barriers. I think if there was a reservation in the family, I think particularly from my partner Kat, it was time, and how much of that would eat into our personal lives, I guess. The actual, I think, only negative connotations I think I've ever really had have probably been through work, but more out of probing and bit of sort of harmless fun, actually, rather than any serious concerns or actual genuine negative connotations. But that's all part and parcel of sort of a bit of banter at work rather than actually a genuine concern.
So it was more banter. It was more banter.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, you joined Bayans Lodge, which is in Market Raisin. Is that where you were based with your work?
No, so I live in Market Raisin, but I actually work in London Monday to Friday, albeit try and work from home 1 day a week. But Market Raisin is home as I see it, I guess.
Okay, so I mean, you've been in now for nearly 5 years. How do you balance working in London and being a family man and being a Freemason?
With great difficulty is the simple answer, and it is give and take sometimes, and clearly different things have different priorities at different points in time. But as a general rule, like work and family sort of have to come first. But it's like anything, you can make time to do things. It just means that, if I know, for example, that, lodge meetings have a set time in the calendar, I know where they are and when they're coming, I will make sure that I organise my work around that to the best of my ability. Now, clearly, sometimes things do crop up and I have to change things around, but it's give and take, I guess, on all sides, really.
And do you have a lodge of instruction at your lodge?
We do, yeah. So that is also that's on a Monday night, usually sort of 2 weeks before the lodge meeting, and then there's also sort of a lodge of improvement as well, which is on a Friday.
Wow!
So Yeah, no, there's kind of three things, I guess, in each month. When the lodge is active, I have to be honest, I don't often make all three in that month. I have to sort of pick and choose my battles, I guess, as it were, in that respect.
Okay. And how do your brethren cope with the fact that you might not necessarily be there all the time?
So I have to say, everyone is incredibly supportive, and are very understanding that work is important, and obviously family life is also important. It's not always work that's the competing priority, and I think that isn't just support that's offered to me. I think it's offered to everyone in the lodge, and I've never been left with the impression that isn't, that's a problem. The quid pro quo, obviously, to that is that we do have to try a little bit harder in respect of making sure that any ritual that I have to do, that I'm on top of that, and because I don't have the opportunity to practice as much as everyone else, like whether or not that would change if I don't then put in the time outside of those instructions, lodge of instruction, etc., then I suspect the attitude might be slightly
different. So, do you have a role in the lodge at the moment, or are you on the steward's bench waiting for someone to?
So I'm junior deacon at the moment.
Okay. Would it surprise you that I've interviewed quite a number of people, and that they've actually said that is their favourite role? How are you getting on with it? I know during COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I've probably only done 2 lodge meetings where I've actually sat in that position, and I am enjoying it, I have to say. Albeit I haven't had to lead a candidate or anything yet. So maybe that will change as I get more time on the floor. But I've certainly nothing but positive experiences thus far with it.
Good stuff. And is there anything you would change about Freemasonry? Or I know change is not a big word in Freemasonry, because we do like to hark back to the old days, and I say that in a good way. But anything on the edges that you think, well, you wish they'd do that, or are you just happy with everything?
I think it's very difficult, because I guess the perspective I have is very much of someone coming into Freemasonry, and I don't benefit from the perspective of someone who's been in and established and done a number of roles and positions and actually gets the benefit of seeing everything and the reasons for everything. But what I would sort of say is that I think Freemasonry has an appearance of being quite hierarchical. And there are obviously reasons why hierarchies exist in all parts of society, but I do sometimes feel it could be more inclusive within its membership in terms of decision making. But that's not really based on anything other than a general impression. I don't feel like I've ever been, I guess, adversely affected by that structure, but I do sort of feel that it gives that impression, and it sort of is very outwardly projecting in that hierarchy.
I'm with you. A lot of people say when they join Freemasonry, it took a couple of years for it all to click into place, where you actually, you were sitting on the sidelines, and all of a sudden it wasn't in the previous. Most people say it's between 18 months and 2 years, where you kind of feel like a passenger and you don't know what the hell's happening, and all of a sudden it clicks into place. So, right, well, he's going to go around there, and he's going to say that, and he's going to do that, and I see why he's saying that. Did you have the same feeling yourself?
100%, yeah. And actually, I think the more times you see the same, ritual, then that you sort of recognize and you pick up and you listen to those words again. And actually, the second time around, they start to resonate, and the third time you pick up something else. But definitely, that first 12 months was all a bit of a blur, in truth. And it'd be great to actually relive it in some respects. But the great thing about Freemasonry is obviously that you do get new candidates all the time, and so you do get to relive it all, but through someone else's eyes, I guess. But yeah, I think after that sort of initial shock, it really is great actually being in that sort of position of being a sponge then for the ensuing months that follow.
People say that one of the 2 big reasons why they love Freemasonry is that you do good for charity, and you do good for your fellow man and woman, but in the community. Yet at the same time, you have fun doing it. Where do you sit on that balancing act of fun and friendship, fellowship, fun, and also fundraising and charity and doing good?
So, I mean, I think of all the sort of harking back, I guess, to one of your earlier questions, is what was the family's impression, particularly Kat's impression of me joining Freemasonry. I think the ability to do good for society and to fundraise, and Freemasons do a lot that doesn't ever really get recognised, and recognition isn't the reason why we do it. It certainly makes my dedication, and when I'm sort of sat thinking, oh, gosh, I really do need to make lodge meeting tonight, and I'm juggling things, it's a sort of, that's the founding sort of cornerstone as to why I'm willing to do that. And what then, in addition, that makes that easier to do is obviously that you can have fun whilst doing it as well, and spend time with your friends, and so I think it's really important to me, the backstory and the fundraising side as to why I'm willing to go out of my way to do this, and then what makes that easier is obviously the fellowship that comes with that.
If you were down the pub with your old school friend, your best friend, your mate, and you said to him, and he didn't know you were a Freemason, tell me how you would talk to your friend, saying, this is what Freemasons are really about, and this is why I think you might like it.
So I think that the most important thing, and I think someone sort of said it to me before I joined as well, is that you'll only really get out of Freemasonry what you put into it, and and what you get out isn't anything that's material. It's about actually a process, I guess, of sort of grounding your life to some extent in, making it sound terribly boring, I guess, but I actually really do enjoy the discipline of turning up to lodge, learning a little bit of ritual. I enjoy and like the fact that Freemasonry is grounded in, charity. And then the benefit of doing those things that sort of are grounding in your life, the charitable work, the morality side of Freemasonry, what's great about the fact that they can bring you back down to earth in some respects is that you can do that whilst having fun at the same time. And actually, in truth, whilst it is difficult balancing it with your work, it is only a couple of hours a month, and actually it isn't a huge draw on your time, but you can get quite a lot back out of it.
Do you think your wife has seen you grow as a man?
Not that she would admit, I doubt, but 100%. I do find it important in terms of my month to actually just have that time when you're in lodge to actually listen to the ritual and actually just think of, sort of have it as an opportunity to reflect, because there aren't that many times in life when you do get to do that. And actually the 10 minutes when I'm on a train down to London, that I just probably look at the ritual of what I've got to learn as well. They're a little bit, it's just a grounding moment, and it does make you just think and reflect at times. So probably not that's noticeable, but it certainly has had an impact.
Rick, thank you for your time today. If anyone watching this would like to be interviewed by the Lincolnshire Provincial team, please do contact Stuart Piercy, who's head of provincial communications in Lincolnshire. Rick, thank you for your time today. Everyone, thank you for watching. I hope you got a lot from it. And if you need any more details, there's a link to the provincial website in the YouTube link below. Thanks for your time today again, Rick, and thanks again.
Yeah, thank you very much.